started with establishment of agricultural universities and agricultural research centers. But initially, the percentage of knowledge that was generated by agricultural research centers and agricultural universities, a very small fraction of that was actually utilized by the farmers in their fields. It's only when, along with the R&D efforts, they combined radio and television at that time. Internet did not exist, so modern information and communication technologies really did not play much role, but radio did, particularly radio, because even television in that country was not developed at that time. But it's only when a national network of radio was developed that the innovations began to spread to the farmers. And that country then emerged, then it was called, within a matter of 4 or 5 years, it was called a revolution, a green revolution. And the country not only produced enough food, but it also had some 200 million tons of food in its warehouses. Now, this session is about human capacity building. Essentially, human capacity building is about learning, about education. But when you look at the challenges of education and learning, what are these challenges? The primary challenge in Africa and Asia would be access to educational opportunities. A very large percentage of the people who graduate from higher secondary schools do not get seats in the universities. Then you have good education is available to a small percentage of the people who do get access. So, question of quality, question of affordability. Yes, you can get your son or daughter admitted to a good university, provided you have resources. My colleague this morning, Tarek Shawki, who is the director of the Cairo office of UNESCO, was talking to me that the universities, even here in Cairo, charge something like $20,000 per annum. How many people can afford $20,000 for their sons and daughters and the universities? So, yes, good quality education may be available, but it's not affordable to the target. The question of equity, we still have serious problems with gender equity. It is being addressed, it is declining, but nonetheless we still have serious issues of gender equity in education. In many of our educational institutions, it's still so traditional, the curriculum is so old, that what they offer by way of education and training really, out of that, may not necessarily be relevant to today's work of the society. And then, because of rapid development of knowledge, there is also very rapid obsolescence of knowledge. And if that is the case, people are now talking about degrees with an expiry date, as it should be. If a medicine has an expiry date, if a technology has an expiry date, do you think that people should get degrees that are relevant for lifelong? Certainly not. If you are trained as a scientist, that scientific knowledge becomes obsolete after a certain period, but it's becoming more and more obsolete and more rapidly. Therefore, there is a need for upskilling, and upbringing or updating the knowledge to the people, knowledge base. So, how can this be addressed? The question of cost, the question of affordability, the question of equality, the question of equity, the question of relevance, and the question of lifelong learning opportunity. Is it possible really through the conventional methods of education and learning that we can address these issues? Perhaps not. And that's why what I'm saying is that it is through the knowledge acquisition and sharing will in future be increasingly technology mediated. Traditional educational processes will be revolutionized and new knowledge communities will be formed. The traditional, conventional systems, it has to give way to new systems, to new approaches. We need to have long-term strategies to efficiently harness the information changed, and that there has to be a multi-stakeholder partnership in giving educational opportunities of quality at affordable cost to a larger segment of the population. That is the only way that we can bring about knowledge societies. Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned about the time, but if you bear with me, maybe I'll take another 4 to 5 minutes or so. Anyway, we need to develop commensurate with the multi-stakeholder partnership in education. It is already happening. I think, and the force of technology and these processes are already in every country. For example, I was one of the founders of a university in India some 20 years ago. That university started with enrollment of 5,000 students. Today, that university has an enrollment of 2 million people, 2 million students. Now, the first reaction of people when they hear that there is a university that enrolls 2 million students is one of disbelief. But that's India with 1.2 billion people. So believe me, yes, there is a university that enrolls some 2 million students. But would it be ever possible for one university to reach 2 billion, did I say billion? Maybe one day, but 2 million students enrolled in one university. It's simply because it is technology-based university. It is a distance teaching university. And it has learning centers spread all over the country with satellite connection, with internet connectivity, with print media base and running its own 4 educational television channels. So it is possible to do that. Move to the what can information and communication technology bring to education and learning? Number one of the programs in physics that I remember, we had a very renowned physicist, and at that time I was the director of a media center, the education media center. I sent the camera team to the lab of that professor. They recorded a series of 20 programs. Now, Dr. Narlikar, the famous physicist, even if you clone him, how many of Dr. Narlikar's can you produce through cloning? That's not a common process available to persons today. But even if you're able to clone him, it will be expensive. But you can clone him by using his video through television and take knowledge from the most reliable, most authoritative source of physics and make that available to students no matter where they are. Whether they are on hills, across the river, come from poor families, they are male or female students. So it prepares a level playing field. And you can take the same quality of education irrespective of people's gender, socioeconomic background, their geographical location. It also improves the educational management system. You know, everything is automated from the day that you register to the day that you graduate. The entire process is information technology based. I don't need to say this again, that it also allows these people to engage in lifelong learning. On a scale, I spent a year in Japan as a visiting professor, and there is a university there in Japan. 70% of the students in that university are 40 years and older, and majority of them are women. Well, I cannot say, they were at least when I was there in 1990. So you can understand that the women who have now kind of, their children have grown, they have time, they are able to go back to the university to learn creative things, to keep them productive and active members